Hey guys, it's Brad from Blue Nile Farm. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm at a friend's house. We're going to do a side job, doing some land clearing. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be brush mowing heavy, thick brush. And then we're also going to be pulling out any kind of trees or brush that have roots to them, because this ground is going to possibly be tilled and used. And we don't want to leave any debris in the ground that's going to be a hindrance when we start tilling the ground. So today we're going to use my Kubota SLV90. We're going to use an MTL XC8, which is an extreme mower. It can take down about 8-inch trees. We're also going to be using my Danuser Intimidator, which I use to actually pull stumps, and it's a great land clearing device, especially when it's coupled up with a 90 horsepower machine. So with that said, stay tuned and hopefully you enjoy the video. So the property that we're going to be dealing with is maybe about 3 acres worth of brush. And you can see we have high reedy grasses that we're going to take down with the mower. And we get into some thinner stuff. But I kind of want to show you kind of the lay of the land and where it's going to be. And the width of this property is probably around 200 to 250 as far as feet goes. So it's not real wide, but we are dealing with length. And I also have some obstacles I have to watch out for, like rocks and bricks and so forth. But right now, this is the area that I'm showing you that predominantly we're going to get in here and start mowing to see where we're at. As we travel down further, you can see some bigger trees. I think the property goes all the way back to that large tree. So we're going to be clearing all of this in between. Now, a lot of this is going to be taken out with the brush mower, but I'm going to get down into the area where it's going to get a lot thicker, and it's going to probably have a couple hundred feet of solid brushy trees that definitely have a good root base. And let me go show you what those look like. So these are the trees we're going to start tackling, and they're brushy. They have a good root base, probably a good 8 to 12 inches in diameter. And if you want to plant anything, you definitely want to get that out. So we're going to take care of all these big brushy trees. And my objective here is to show you how good of a combination a Danuser Intimidator is with a good, decent brush mower, and what you can really get accomplished. Because those two tools, we can take care of this whole problem pretty easy. So, you know, my friend has a really beautiful house, a nice little property, and she used to do Airbnb, and you know, this back end is just really fallow, and she would like to pretty much put a greenhouse back here. She loves working with plants, so the goal here is to turn this into her little garden. Well, guys, we made a lot of progress. I just took the brush mower out here. We took care of all that brush, and now we're down to the stuff that we're actually going to pull with the Danuser Intimidator. And the only reason why I didn't film the mower right now is because it was just too tight and too many obstructions there with my way a little bit. It's kind of like mowing grass, but it really did a nice job tearing out that thick, reedy, grassy material that was right here. So right now I have everything that is root based, and we need to get rid of that. And if you ask me my opinion, I've done a lot of land clearing, and I've done a lot for myself, and I've done a lot for others. And a lot of people will just take that mower that's on the front of that skid steer and just brush hog this whole field down, all the way down to the roots. And what would happen is the roots would stay in the ground, and that's it. You'll never get them out. And they'll stay in the ground for 5 to 10 years, and they'll never rot. And a lot of people have these fancies. They're going to come in with bigger equipment, or they're just going to pluck them out, and it'll never happen. So unless you're on a wood line, or you know that you really have no intention of ever tilling up that soil, the best thing you can do is do it right the first time and come in and pull them. And this is where the Danuser Intimidator is just so great. When you have small brush and trees up to 8 to 10 inches, easily that thing could pull them right out. And I pulled out bigger, but I'm just saying this, when you're talking about just massive land clearing and to really make a big dent into a forest where you can get a lot of that small undergrowth, that little Danuser Intimidator does a great job. And what's nice about it is you can tear up the roots, you can move the material. It's not like bringing in a bulldozer where you just push stuff over and push it into a big pile. Here you have some control, kind of like a grapple, where you can knock something over, pick it up, and put it in a pile. It's a wonderful tool. I'm going to show you how to use it. And then I'll go back and eventually I'll show you that mower in action so you get a taste of that. But right now we're going to grab the Danuser Intimidator, and all that brushy stuff that you see behind me is what we're going to attack. So, and I'll show you how wonderful that tool is, because you know, saw a lot of people in the past when I was looking to buy a Danuser Intimidator, and guys would make comments like, "Ah, just get a D8 dozer and just push it over." You know, that's bullshit. Because, you know, the bottom line is, it's just, all that does is make a big mess. And if you ever run a bulldozer, unless you're a professional, you make a big mess. Because all the material on the topsoil you rip out, basically you're removing it from the ground. With that Danuser Intimidator, I can grab a root base, I can flick it, I can knock all the dirt off of it, and then I have almost pure wood and pure stump, and then I can put it into a pile and burn it or decompose it, or even just chop it up with the mower on the skid steer, because that's what I've done before. The downfall, though, of mowing it up and chopping it up with the skid steer is you're going to have a lot of debris all over the ground, and it's not going to really mulch because they're all branches and sticks. In the end, you're going to be pushing it into a large pile. You have that option when you have this tool with the Danuser Intimidator, but personally I think it's more cost effective and easier, unless you're going to mulch them, to just basically burn the piles. And that's probably what she wants to do, is just for me to pile them up, and she'll burn them when she's ready. So with that said, I'm going to put the Danuser Intimidator on. I'm going to hook up. I'm going to show you how that thing works in action as we start pulling out these trees, because that's what we're going to do right now. From over here all the way down, all this is going to get ripped out, and you'll see a huge difference. Because again, the point is that we want to make usable land, not just clearing it so you can see it. I mean, we want to fix what's down below, and that's what we're going to do. So guys, this is a Danuser Intimidator, and I've bought this thing many years ago. I first bought it when my dad died. He had a property, and unfortunately he had an overgrown property. I didn't own a skid steer at the time, and I saw the Danuser Intimidator, and I bought it for my tractor, knowing that someday I was going to get a skid steer. And when I finally did get a skid steer, I have to honestly tell you, it really transformed it into being an optimal unit. Now, it worked out fine when I used it for a small area, using a 55 horse LS tractor. But the bottom line is, you don't have the breakout force, you don't have the lifting capacity, you don't have the mobility or the traction to really do a lot. But I was successful in clearing my dad's property with it, and it was a small area, so it worked out good. But you know, for small brushy stuff, you can't beat this. I ripped this one out just a second ago. All the dirt's gone, and basically it's like a big scissors, and it got a lot of like a zigzag pattern. So basically it crunches something and holds on really tight and lifts it right out of the ground. It has serrated teeth on the side where you can actually saw or cut roots. You can actually grub out, because there's points in front. You can grub out underneath roots and trees and push them over. You can push over a tree over at the top level, and you can pick them up and move them wherever you want them. There's just so many different things you can do with this. I'm going to show you how easy it is to pull out these roots. And when you ask me, is it better to pull them out or is it to cut them up, I'm going to tell you, this is the way to go all day long. And the Intimidator is under $4,000. So it's a good, cheap power that you can't go wrong with. Now, they'll demonstrate it. They'll show you running with skid steers. They're about 90 to 100 horse. And I have to agree, you're going to get the most bang out of your dollar when you have a bigger skid steer running this type of equipment. Could you use a smaller 50, 60 horsepower machine? Sure. Is it going to be effective? Not nearly as close as what you can do when you have a bigger machine. So that's something you need to take in consideration when you buy a lot of these land clearing type of tools. A lot of people buy and own skid steers that are really too small to really get the job done effectively. So they figure, I'm just going to cut it down and brush mow it. But even again, the brush mowers need to have enough machine to actually get the job done. So, you know, again, it always comes down to having a right size skid steer for the right size job. So I bought this 90. This is what I knew I needed, and that's why I did it. And if you look at anybody that's trying to sell an attachment, look at the machines that they're running them on. They're never really small machines. They're normally the bigger skid steers that are running these machines, because they have the force and the gallon per minute and the size that they can really make these units that they're selling hum. And I don't care if it's a disc mower, a grapple, an Intimidator, you know, you name the piece of equipment, you're going to see most of them are going to be pushed. The dealers are going to be pushing the bigger machines because they do a better job. So, but with that said, let's get out there. Let's start pulling some trees, and hope now you'll see this thing in action. Alright guys, let me show you how easy this is. Pretty much, what's nice with the skid steer is you can see where you're looking at. You just got to look up, go underneath the ground, get under it, and rip it up at the root. And what's nice is you can drop everything and make it into a nice neat pile that you want to get to. Come in, grab it by the ball, pick it up, give it a shake. There it takes care of the dirt. Now I have basically all wood product, and if I want to burn it, it's not going to be a problem. If you had a tractor and this was hooked up, you could easily do the same thing, but the problem is, one, you can't really see what you're doing because of, you know, it being more out in front of you. Number two, you know, you got more shake with these because you have a lot more control. They're a lot freer as far as hydraulics. At least this skid steer does. And it may take a little longer than mowing. Look at all this roots. You know, most people don't have big farm equipment. They're able to go in the ground and flip over roots and pull them out of the ground. And all these little root balls are everywhere. Even the little trees. I mean, the more I can pull out, the better. Tell you what, when you get these little pricker bushes like this, they just gotta go. So a lot of times when I do land clearing jobs, I use this Intimidator. I rip material out, put it in small piles. Okay, to bring my grapple down, pick these piles up. But if you don't make them too thick, you can just use the Intimidator and grab them and create piles. I didn't get the root on that one. You want to go low with this. The lower you are, the better. And a lot of times, you can pick them up out of the ground or rip them out. You can even grub them. What I mean by grub them is basically just kind of pick at them with the front, break the dirt so you can get to the root like this. You know, I think a lot of times when people do land clearing, they want a quick, easy way out. But to me, if you can do this, rip out the roots, make it simple, it'll be easier. Like I said, most people don't have big enough equipment. So a lot of guys go out and buy a 6-foot disc and they got small 40, 50 horse tractors and they think they're going to do a lot of changes to their ground. And those tools don't have enough power that you can break through the ground to get this kind of stuff out. So what you'll notice is that for land clearing, I'm pulling everything out at the root. That is true, but I'm not really wrecking my topsoil. I'm not ruining my ground. I'm just taking these things and getting them out of the way, so later on we can come in and move them around. Now I can leave the smaller trees, the smaller roots, and I'll come back and pull them out with the tractor. We'll just cut them. But right now we just use this to get what we needed done. here's just some of the stuff that we pulled out. What I want you to see is look at that root system that's under here. It's shallow rooted, all those little pieces. And you know, you never plow through that, even if you're on your best day with any of these little tractors that are, you know, compact, or even a good 70, 80 horse tractor, you'd have a heck of a time. So you got to pull these roots out. You got to get them out. That's a pretty long ball, and it really makes a difference. And this is a lot of debris out of here. And what you'll see is I really didn't disturb that soil that much. All I'm doing is pulling it out, and I'll take the brush mower and go back over this and chop up the little tiny stuff. And for the most part, you know, now we got the bulk of the big roots out of the way. So now we have a good chance of tilling it under without a lot of problems. And we're going to continue on working backward. But that pretty much is how it works. And you know, that's a pretty good quantity of brush right here. Well, all this is brush that's been pulled out. It's in a big pile, and kind of cleared off a bunch on the property line. And everything was going good until I just found out my skid steer, I popped the track. I'm going to have to get that fixed. I just want to show you guys what we've gotten done. So we got a lot cleared out, and you know, this is very tedious when you got to pull these out. And I'm actually pulling out a lot, but there's actually halfway decent topsoil. You can see how much we've taken out. Here's the pile. Went all the way around here and opened up our property line. You know, this is all brush. It's a lot of it. It's everything that was in here before that I showed you. Just a lot of brush. Is it worth doing it this way? I think yes. Why? Because once this is done, and it may take a minute, you know, you can actually till the soil. You can actually work the ground. You can move the dirt. That's going to have that many obstacles. And sure, it might take a couple years to break down and get rid of all the roots. But you know what? At least this land's usable. And this is the best way to clear it. You can see we went all the way around. So this is just a huge pile of brush that we're going to have to burn. And there's a lot of dirt that's still with it. So we're going to kind of pick through this, and whatever's grass I'll knock out. A huge, huge, huge difference. This is just a video to highlight some of the piles I made, and I couldn't even count how many piles are in here. And I'm going to be taking a grapple here shortly, and we're going to be coming in and piling up all this debris in a line, and I'll give you another shot when it's done. But there's pile upon pile upon pile, and I spent literally 3 days just grabbing material and piling it up. And the piles just are never ending. They just keep going and going and going. So everywhere I went, I made a pile. And I would say there's probably an acre and a half, to almost 2 acres probably, of just pure debris. And I think you'd be kind of surprised how much I actually got out of here. So So I'm going to come in here right now with this grapple, and I'm going to push all this into a pile just to show you kind of what we wound up pulling out with this. But this was very effective and very efficient, and then you'll get a better view of what the ground looks like when we were done. So looking at the far northwestern corner of the property, where those little trees are right out here. These are just another view and an angle of all the brush piles we made with the Danuser Intimidator. So I'll be coming in with the grapple, and we're going to be pushing them into one big pile, multiple big piles on the line, so they could be burned probably next year. So all this brush has been pulled in 3 days, and it's 200 plus feet of brush long, and it's thick. And I'm glad I wound up getting it out. And I'll tell you, that Danuser Intimidator worked really hard pulling. And I spent literally 1 hour when I got here, probably mowing, and 3 days pulling. And that's all I did is pull, brush, and knock down small trees. And I'll tell you what, I got to just mow, probably take 1 more hour, and I'm out of here and I'm done with this job. But I'll tell you, it's a fabulous, fabulous job that I did, I have to say. And it all because of that Intimidator pulled all this out. And once these piles are burned, topsoil will go back to the ground. And you can see even on the ground, I didn't do any real damage to the topsoil. You know, there is debris still here, and I'm not here to finish it today. I'm here just to pull this. And probably next year, I'll probably come in after these piles are burned, and then we'll clean this all up and level it out and get it tillable so she can use it. So let's go down past the pine tree and I'll show you the other piles. So here's the pile on the second half after the pine tree, and it's just loaded with material that I pulled out of here. It's crazy. Lots and lots of debris. And actually when I pushed it up in here, I actually was rolling it because they were just so big. And I was using the grapple, and I would just kind of keep flipping these piles over to get them right in this line. So they'll burn nice, they're tight, and they will decay. But there's a lot of good potential on this property. It's small, and definitely opened it all up. So next thing I'm going to do is take the brush mower. I'm going to take down that edge line up here on top and clean all this up. So let's go up there and take a look at that, because that's what I'll be doing next, and then I'll show you what it looks like with the brush mower in action. So I'm in the northwest corner, and I just want to show you all these piles are all lined up. All this debris is lined up down all the way up toward the house, and then this area here right along the outside of the pile, I'm going to mow that down, as well as mow down any of the tall grasses here. There's a lot of pricker bushes, dead trees, and stumps that were things that I pulled out, I'm going to mow that all down too. So there's a roadway that's on the opposite side of this, and it's a gas well access. So I'm going to clean all this up. That's what I have left to do. And then we'll take a quick look at it. And when we look at from this corner all the way toward the house, just to give you a different perspective of how much was cleaned out. And I'll tell you, it's just wonderful. Pretty happy with it. She's happy with it. And now she can look at her backyard and see her property. But this is what it's all about, guys. Just getting the right tools to do the right job makes life a lot easier. And most of you guys, if you had the tools, can do the same thing. Now we're going to get into more of the extreme stuff that's a little thicker. We don't know what's in here. It's just all mounded up. Our goal is to kind of clean it up. So we finished mowing, went all the way down the edge, went all the way down in the corner, went all the way up to, there's a little roadway along the back side. We took all that out. So it all looks pretty good. And pretty happy with that. And you can see here I cut right down the edge line. It was pretty thick. Going all the way down, hopefully following suit to the property line. Hey guys, thanks for watching the YouTube video on the land clearing using the Danuser and the MTL Extreme Mower. You can see we did a great job. I have to say this is about 3 acres cleared, and I've done a really good job on it, and I'm more than tickled with it. So I think she'll be really happy when she gets home. All the boundaries down here is cleared off. I cut down on the edge. I got in some areas that probably have never seen mowed in many years, and now she can see her property and be able to kind of start to plan out her strategy of what she's going to do with it. But again, anybody can do this kind of work. You got to get the right tools to do the right job. But those two combinations of the Danuser Intimidator and an MTL attachment, and I have to throw in my Grapple because the Grapples will push this stuff in here. Overall, all those 3 tools did a great job in getting this project finished, and I'm more than happy with it. So until next time, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.